Hi folks, and welcome to my tour of my camper van 1 year after I kind of finished building it. So yeah, after the original build is finished, I've now been using it for a year, done around about 14,000 miles, obviously travelled all over Europe. So I'm just going to go through the external components of my van, what I've done to it, and just give you an update on how they're actually working out for me. Has anything needed to be changed for it's being faulty, or I've not liked it? You know, what's working great, and what upgrades have I done along the way? So let's talk about the first thing that I did. No, not the door. Let's just ignore the door for a bit. Let's talk about the first thing that I did, which was the vinyl wrap. And how is the vinyl wrap working out? It's stood the test of time. It's not come off at all. It looks nice. So yeah, I'm well happy with the time that I spent putting the vinyl wrap on. And the vinyl wrap goes all the way around the back and around the other side. However, as soon as I cut out the holes for the windows, I obviously created some sort of heat bridge or whatever's going on, and yeah, we've had some unfortunate side effects of that. So the windows are installed, and unfortunately it started to peel away just around that area. So you've got these kind of bulges, if you can see there, and they just kind of keep coming back. So I can stick them back down and go along with my finger and squidge them down. But the unfortunate thing is, as soon as it's getting back into the sun again, those bulges just come back out. Now maybe you can see this one a little bit better there. See the bulging on this side? So I've basically been doing that for the last year every time I've seen it. And then on this bit here, that's kind of reacted a little bit to whatever glue that they've used in the van. There is a little bit of cracking going on there. Now I do know that my van had a little bit of a tension on this side. What do I mean by that? Well, as I was filling the inside of the van with insulation, I could see loads and loads of little dots all across the inside of the panel. And what that means is it's had a dent on this side, and they've used sort of like welding little points on there to use a machine to pull it straight, and then they've repaired it afterwards. So basically what's happened is the paint has cracked along the seam, and I presume that under there, that's what's happened. It's just sort of like a little bit of movement on that seam, so the vinyl is starting to show signs of maybe cracking along that seam. Now I said on the other side how one of the seams had caused a few issues with the vinyl wrap, and on this side what's happened is the vinyl wrap has actually split on a couple of places, which isn't ideal. I'm going to look at seeing how I can fix that, maybe just drop a bit of glue in the back there. But again, this is just for the fact that these two panels on the vans are glued together, bonded together, and obviously as you drive around or as it gets hot and cold, they do sort of basically move microscopically, but they do move, and obviously that has somehow affected the vinyl. You do get scratches on there, and they do come out, they just rub out, and that's fine with a bit of rubbing compound. I have got a few marks like trees that I've caught in there. There's not a lot you can do that. I did start to get some graphite grey pen, and start filling it in like a marker pen, but then when I wash it again it just comes off. So I'm just going to live with that now. The windows have been absolutely brilliant as well. If you get any marks on the windows, hello new little drone, but if you do get any marks on the windows, you can use the same rubbing compound that you'd use on paintwork or the vinyl to take out scratches, and because these are sort of plastic, acrylic or whatever windows, you can take out all the scratches and everything else. So yeah, don't worry about them. They're fantastic windows as well. So they are Solway windows, and both sides of my van have got this same window. So my rear window again is a Solway window, smaller one, so it fits within the frame, the inner frame of this door. The vinyl on the back hasn't had as much as the problem of the side vinyl. This is different vinyl than I used on the sides. So I don't know if you've ever noticed that. It's probably the first time I said it, but I ran out of the vinyl on the side, so I got the closest matched for the back. So if you do actually look like that, they look the same, but that side is slightly darker than the back, or should I say that both sides are slightly darker than the back. So it could well be that the side vinyl has reacted to whatever I've used to install the window and glue it, whereas this rear vinyl hasn't. Those are my country flags. So these are all the countries that I visited in a campervan slash motorhome. And yes, I do need to get to Andorra or something like that just to complete that, because everyone says it's killing them on their OCD. Like I say, I've had a few issues with the hinges seizing up. So a little bit of just oil on there, regular oil on there, and that's freed them up. So they now operate totally fine. Now the other thing that I did, if you remember, was to paint the lower part of the bodywork, and for that I used Plasti-Dip, and so far that has been absolutely brilliant. Basically doing exactly what it sort of wants to do. You know, it's sort of masked in the lowest part of the van to be nice and black, and obviously made the trim that was grey sort of go back to black as well, and that's quite cool. However, this hinge has been a bit of a problem, and every time I oil the hinge, the oil removes the Plasti-Dip, and you can see there it's sort of removed it and starting to peel off a little bit. So I need to do that again. I'll find some way of treating it with oil and then wiping it down quickly afterwards so it doesn't get onto that bit. A little bit of wear and tear on the back when I get my bike in, but again, that can be just sprayed over with more Plasti-Dip. So you can see from this side, the Plasti-Dip seems to be all right. Now as we come down to the front of the van, you can see the Plasti-Dip starting to sort of, wherever it's had a stone chip, starting to come off a little bit. So I think that was, it went in for some work. I'll explain about that in a minute on the engine, and I think the mechanic caught that with his overalls. But you can see there that that's really taking a bit of a beating. So wherever it seems to get stone chips, that's just peeling off. So what I need to do really is do all that again. No way around that. So yeah, get more Plasti-Dip, yeah, clean it all up, and then spray all that again, and then that'll be all right. So my little fog lamps still working totally fine. Both the main beam and dip beam are both running on LEDs, and they're fine. They've now passed 2 MOTs, so there's no issue with those there. The bull bar, that's been totally fine, apart from the fact that you may work out that it's ever so slightly wonky. And that is for the fact that I was driving up to something and I hit that side on something. And I basically pushed it upwards. So it's something I'll sort out in the future. Let's going over to the front. Aux beam lights. These spotlights are fantastic. They give me in excess of half a mile view up the road. So these are like 2 pencil beams up the road, and they are amazing. These are my lower fog lamps. That one's fine. However, that one keeps collecting moisture. In fact, one time a subscriber was driving past and messaged me and said, "We saw you praying to your van today, is everything okay?" I was just on my knees trying to undo this, clean it up on the inside, and then sort of basically hoping that it would be sealed again, but it seems to accept a lot of moisture through those seals, unfortunately. It still works fine. Obviously I'll need to look into a better solution for that, maybe put some extra seal on or something. But yeah, other than that, they work flawlessly. So these are my upper aux beam lights. Really good. Puddle lights light up the side of the road at night so that you can easily see where you want to turn left or right. And also if you're going down the centre of the road and you want to see where the ditches are, yeah, they're great for that. And here's my other aux beam on this side. Again, like I say, they do get a bit dirty. They do take a battering, but up here on the roof, you know, they are fantastic. You've got one small light to the front there for my outside lights, and then the big one again, which is showing a bit of sign of moisture, sort of condensation really, and again the paint's come off, but I can't find any more of the big size ones, so that's why I went for the small ones. So when these do stop working, I'll probably just replace them with the little small ones there. I use this as CCTV now, which is my Blink camera system. So after about 6 months of trying both out, I've stuck with the Blink camera system. I've removed the old cameras now. I found the old cameras not that great. Fair enough, you didn't have to be online for them, which was the benefit. But pretty much wherever I am now, with Starlink or my Wi-Fi setup, I'm online. And the other camera systems, the Wi-Fi connection kept going, it kept flickering. I had to replace 2 cameras in that time as well, and then eventually another camera went, so I decided to just remove them and stick with the Blink cameras. They've been great. Again, on this side, another Blink camera, which is secured on that side, and more side lights, so I've got more security side lights. There's my rear Blink camera system. Obviously I took the other camera off, and that's my new Wi-Fi antenna, which I've made a video all about. And then obviously we've got the other rear lights, the rear brake light with the integrated downward facing reverse camera. That's still working totally fine. I would say the single downside of this is that it is a reverse camera. It's not a rear view camera. So the best angle you can get on that basically gives you around about sort of 20 foot behind the van, but it's still rearward down facing. You know, you can alter it in different directions, but ultimately it's always going to face down. So on the back I fitted 2 track mats, and they are sort of emergency recovery boards. So I've got one there and one here. On this side is my spare fuel can, so if anything ever happens, I run out of fuel, I can get my e-bike out, put this on the back and go and get some fuel. And on the other side is where I've mounted my Starlink base, so I can just literally get up, put my Starlink on, and that sits there when I'm using it, and that's lovely and solid, doesn't move at all. And if I do ever need the track mats, everything is just cable tied on, so I can just literally jump up on the roof, undo straps or cable ties, and then basically get down and use the track mats. So that's nice and easy. Now, as you can see, I have got 2 Max fans. So they've been great, apart from the fact that when I increased my rear suspension, which we'll get to that in a minute, I basically reversed out of the unit we had and caught the Max fan. I literally stopped as soon as I heard something, but it seems to have bent the chassis a little bit of it, so it doesn't exactly sit as it should do. It's a little bit sort of like squiffy on one side, but other than that it works fine. Still operates exactly as it should do. I have had to replace the circuit board in that one, and the little blind clips, but I'll talk about that when we do the interior tour in a couple of weeks. Again, the Fiamma roof rack, absolutely brilliant, rock solid. Obviously all these mounts can adapt so you can fit Fiamma awnings, but it comes with this kit, that's how it mounts. And as you can see, the way that I designed the whole roof is that my 600 watt panel fitted pretty much exactly to a few millimeters between the 2 Max fans, and then that's mounted over 4 of these sort of cross members of the Fiamma awning, so there's plenty of support for this. This is bolted to you know, the cross members, so that is plenty rigid enough and strong enough to keep everything in there, and that works totally fine. And if anybody does want to know why my ladder is over my window, it's for security. I didn't want a window that somebody could just sort of break into and climb in the van. So I can open that up, I can get fresh air in, I can see out, I can do all that kind of stuff. However, it's nice and secure that way, and the ladder secures the window perfectly well. It simply just bolts on this rail at the top and a rail down the bottom. And like I say, that has been brilliant to get up onto the roof and check everything out. My solar panel, although it's a little bit dirty at the moment, yep, working perfectly fine. So I'm still running the same 600 watt, one fixed panel that I've had from day one. And I do basically reap the rewards of that. It's been fantastic. I did install these little water clips to show you. There we go. So that's the clip and as you've just seen there, that simply just clips on the side of the frame like that. And then as the water pools in this area, it simply just kind of like drains down there and drops on the van. Yeah, my van roof isn't very clean. I cleaned this bit area when I was sticking that on, but I've not cleaned that area for a while, so you know, hey ho. And then my front max fan, and I've not hit that on anything yet, so that one's perfectly fine. I installed this wind deflector a couple of months ago to deflect the wind away from the outer edges of the max fan to try and stop the whistle going down the road. However, that has made really very little difference at all. So it was a good test, but yeah, not great. I also installed these side mirror caps, and these simply just go over the top and stick on, and they've been brilliant. And I also installed these little side LED marker repeaters, and they've been brilliant as well. Lovely. If you can see from this side, if you hit something, they does go white. And again, I've just got a pen and made them black again whenever I've hit something, but very durable, and obviously it saves smacking the back of the mirror housing. So yeah, this sort of takes the brunt of that, and that's been pretty cool. Well, let's come to the wheels. So the BF Goodrich all-terrain, and these are the KO2, and they are on 16-inch alloys, MSW alloys. And these tyres and wheels I got from Elite Tyres and Wheels in Reading, and they've been looking after me for quite a few years now, different vehicles. I've recently swapped the front to rear and across axles as well. So this used to be my offside front wheel, and so that one was my rear offside wheel. So yeah, essentially they've swapped over that way, and that's just to get even wear. What I found on my last set is that I kept the rears on for 40,000 miles, and I changed the front set once. And what that meant was, by the time I got to change the rear ones, they were absolutely buggered. The treads had started to step out, and they made a little bit of a noise going down the motorway. So by swapping them over, you know, across axle front to rear and then left to right either side, you're going to get total even wear out your tyres that way. Now remember, we talked about the first thing that I did on my van, which was cut the hole out on the sliding door for the window, which ultimately led to needing a new sliding door. You know, you live and learn. So ultimately I got a sliding door from a different vehicle, and obviously, you know, just sod's law on that, it was a different colour white. How many different colour whites are there for these panel vans? Apparently 6. So there we go. I think mine's Bianca white or something like that, and the other one I got was ice something white. So it meant I had to spray the door, and we've had a few issues over the last year because of that. Basically, I sprayed it outside with rattle tin paint, and to 99% of the people, I think they would never even noticed. However, that 1% of people who've got a more keen eye on things will know it's a slightly dull finish. The lacquer I used wasn't very good quality, and because I was outside, I wasn't getting the coverage that I needed. The wind was blowing a little bit, so it's not fantastic. And what that has meant, unfortunately, is in a couple of areas, and it's sod's law that when the water drains off that side and that side, that all that water is draining or pooling in my naff paintwork. So I get dark patches there and dark patches there, which is ultimately, yeah, my paintwork is actually falling apart, folks. And it's like got crazy little sort of like crazy paving or whatever in my paintwork. And then if you look at that from such an angle on the top there, yeah, you can see how bad that's got. And yeah, I could buff it down, but it is just the lacquer. So at some point in the future, I'll sort that out. And this has got roughly the same problem as that. It's just not been painted that well. I just didn't have the time, and yeah, I was trying to do it outside. And the awning light, including the little rain channel as well, rain gutter that it gives me, has been fantastic. That is a very, very bright light. No issues with it. There's no fogging, there's no water got in there. I didn't screw it on in the end. I've simply just bonded it to the upper side of that opening, and that has been brilliant at keeping the water off the van. So if I open the door, it doesn't dribble down. It basically dribbles off to the front there and goes to the front of the van, so that's been quite cool. So I did, if you remember, put an awning on. It was a £200 awning. It's a sort of like semi-rigid fabric awning. Manual obviously, and just roll it out of that sort of area there. It's bolted to my roof rack, and have used it a handful of times, but for 200 quid, and it's only a couple of kilos, so it's not too much of extra weight to carry around. And obviously when I use it, it's fantastic. So like I say, on the back I put double leaf springs on there as an upgrade. I also changed the shock absorbers to heavy duty shock absorbers, and that's given me a lovely ride now in the van. And as you can see, there's a nice big gap there between the wheel and the wheel arch. So if I do ever put a lot of weight in the back of the van to the weight capacity of the vehicle, it won't be sagging, you know, won't sort of see it sort of like, you know, dipping down at the back like you see some vans. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And it also gives the van a bit of a lean to the front, which allows for the top to drain, you know, so if there is any water collecting on the solar panel, that can drain down easier. It's just nice. Sometimes as well it works in my favour. If I arrive in a car park that is sort of slightly, you know, dipping down or dipping this way, I can reverse in or drive in and find a flat spot nice and easy that way. So yeah, I do like that one. But obviously I do have a lovely angle of exit, or an exit angle or whatever at the back there. Now the van's been quite raised up at the back. The front, I've not needed to do anything with that one. The ride height of the front is perfectly okay. Nothing ever grounds on the floor or anything like that, unless I choose to run into a curb, which is what I did with the front nudge bar. But hey, that's why they're called nudge bars, so you can nudge them. So the front under tray there, perhaps not the best in all fairness. It started to sag. It's done the same on Mandy's van as well. So I need to just sort of check that out and find a different way of fastening it up there. But as you can see, that sagged quite a lot. So if I was to reverse over a sort of a rock or anything like that, potentially that could snag on it and try and rip it off. So yeah, I might be replacing them, or I might find a different way to attach that up and out of the way underneath there. But other than that, they have kept a lot of crud off the engine, especially in winter on the underside of the engine, so they kind of worked. And you can see there all the battered damage of when I did hit a rock out in the Banderas release, which has, like I say, pushed this bracket up a little bit, which is why my nudge bar doesn't sit exactly square anymore, just slightly annoying. So let's talk about maintenance. What sort of maintenance have I had to do on my van over the last year, covering all those miles and been to the crazy places that I've been as well? Well, so far I've got new discs and pads on the rear, and also new handbrake sort of assembly and handbrake cables. That resolved that problem. If you remember last year when I was in Ukraine, I had new discs and pads fitted because of a wheel bearing issue, so they replaced all them. Unfortunately, I don't think they were very good quality. So around about a month ago, I've had new front discs and pads fitted, and they've been fantastic. Like I say, I've swapped my tyres front to rear and left to right, so I've done a complete rotation on my wheels and tyres. On the engine side of things, I've had to replace a few things which have failed. One was the turbo intercooler pipe. The bracket snapped off that one, so that's been fixed. And there was a couple of pipes down the back that weren't perhaps best quality, so those hoses and pipes have been replaced as well. I've also had a seal replaced on the back of the engine, where the fuel pump sits because that was leaking, and I've also had some other fuel hoses changed as well. So it's just me, it's not necessary, but every kind of like 5,000 miles I change the oil and the oil filter. It's an old vehicle, well, it's not old, it's 5 years old, but it's done a lot of miles, currently sitting around about 110,000 miles. So I figured because of that, I should look after it a little bit better. It's an old thing, just like me. So yeah, I do an oil and oil filter service quite regularly, and then I keep up with all the other services as well. So recently it's had a cam belt as well. Mine is the 2-litre HDI blue Peugeot engine. So it's not got a wet belt, it's not got a timing chain, it's got a regular external sort of to the oil system cam belt. So that's been changed. It's had a full service. Yeah, it's just, there's no point. It's just like, you know, it's just going to bite me in the bum if I don't maintain it very well. So I spend my money on my van, I keep it well maintained, and it looks after me, and you know, we have fun together, as you'd expect. So as part of all that as well, it's also had a complete brake fluid change and a complete engine coolant flush, and then new engine coolant put in its place as well. So it's ready for a lot more of adventures now.
Life's too short to get it all right. First time around, you better not mess up. Wanna be born again, I want a second chance, 'cause this time around.
I've also added some extra seals around the door. This is probably version 3 of this because I've had many of these vehicles now. So the first one, I applied the seal to the door. The motorhome, I applied 2 seals to the door. I kept having problems with them though. So this time I've stuck the seal to the van. As you can see, this secondary seal here, and that's worked out really well. Basically goes all the way up to the top. That one is quite a good seal from the factory already, so that works quite well. And then I've hidden another little bit of a seal here where the factory one stopped. So I've come into another seal there which goes down the back. And now when you close the door, it's a very nice seal. Like I say, that one comes all the way down there and seals to the back of there. And then this seal comes all the way there. There's another factory seal that's pretty good that way. But that one comes all the way down the bottom of the door and back up the other side. So what does that mean? Well, it means like road noise, especially in sort of winter or when it's raining, you're not going to get all that road noise, you're not going to get all the water that comes through the gap in the door and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, road noise has been reduced, well, significantly actually, by adding that seal. And I've also added the same sort of seal to the slidey door. So that's got a seal that runs all the way up there, all the way to the top. It doesn't get in the way of the fuel cap or anything like that, but I will cover the interior another time. But I just wanted to show you the seal there, and there's a little tiny bit where the fuel cap does kind of like jut out a little bit. So on this door I've put in another bit of that seal there, just so it seals against the fuel cap door as well. So now when I close this door, again, that seal there just stops anything coming in because of that gap, and that seal runs up all the way up there. So that sealed the door. So just sealing that up the way it is does mean that it's much quieter on the road. Replaced my wiper blades a couple of times again for the mileage, and I do now have a crack in my windscreen as well, which I will get replaced soon enough. Obviously right now with Mandy going through cancer treatment, I've got more things on my mind, hence why there's been lots of bike videos and power pack videos and things like that. So what exactly did go wrong with the first sliding door, with the first hole I cut for the first window? Let's find out now.
What the fuck? Huh? How did that happen? Hey?
At least a year later I can laugh about it now, and it's all a happy memory. Well, maybe not so happy, but it's a memory nevertheless. Yeah, That's why I needed a new sliding door. So there we go. That is the exterior of my van 1 year after I finished building it, showing you the defects that I found, the things that obviously I might change in the future, things that didn't work out and why I've removed them, or things that really worked out well and why I've swapped over to them. And just to give you an update on products that I bought, which you may have copied me and you've bought. Obviously, if you have, leave your version of your thoughts down below as well in the comments. I will be doing another video in a couple of weeks all about the interior, and I'll go through the interior and everything that I've done there as well. But for now, the majority of things that I've shown you, I will leave links in the video description down below. And if I have missed anything, I'm really sorry, but ask in the comment section down below if you want an update on something else on the exterior of the van, and I shall try my best to answer your question. But for now, thanks very, very, very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care, folks. Bye.